Attention passengers, this is your conductor speaking. We are about to arrive at the hesitation station. Please mind your step as you enter the station.
All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Hesitation Station podcast. I'm Jay, along with my co-host Tank. How's it going, buddy?
Hi.
That is not professional. Before we get started, guys, make sure to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. We're all there. The link tree is that way because I forgot reflection doesn't work with
Yeah.
camera, but it's
Oh my God, I
down
got
there.
it done. I got it on the
You got-
first try.
But enough of that. Today we got on a very special guest, and you may know him, and you may
It's
not.
about
But if you don't,
it's about to get magical.
I would like to introduce none other than Bill Chott. There he
Hey.
is. Hey,
Hello.
how's it going, Bill?
It's going great.
Got some coffee
Yes,
ready
got
for
some
you?
coffee. It's been a little chilly here in Los Angeles.
Are you
But,
you're in Los Angeles?
Yeah, Studio City.
Oh, I thought you still reside over in Missouri.
No, I'm from Missouri. I have a lot of friends in Missouri, but haven't been back home. I think 2 summers ago was the last time I was there. I was awarded the Missouri Legend Award, so I went back in town
That's
for that.
awesome.
Picked up that
Nice.
award. Stayed in St. Louis for a day or two, saw some family, and then had to get right back.
Congrats on the award.
Thank you very much.
Congrats. I'm having tea. It doesn't look like it, but it's a little cup. I'm having tea.
Is it iced tea or?
Iced tea. My wife is obsessed with hot tea.
Mhm.
But I like sweet iced tea. That
Yeah.
is me. So, but all right, Bill. So let's talk about you. We could talk about all your stuff that you've been in for here in a second. But I want
Mhm.
to know about you. I want to know about Bill.
All right. Born in Missouri. I have an older sister, a younger brother. We moved around a lot when I was a kid because my dad used to write for corporations. He would write speeches for the head of the company, slideshows. Because back then they didn't do like videos for companies; they did slideshows, and and then he would write like full like Broadway style musicals based around a company's theme when they would have big corporate events at the end of the year. And so I was kind of introduced to show business in that way. Um, Graduated from high school in St. Louis and then wound up going to Central Methodist University in Fayette, Missouri. Very small school, but it meant that I was able to get a lot of the lead roles in the plays there. So I really enjoyed my time at Central. Then I moved to Chicago and studied at Second City with Stephen Colbert. Was my first improv teacher. Wound up touring the country in the Second City Touring Company with Tina Fey, Amy Poehler, Rachel Dratch, all kinds of names that you might know and see from TV and film. So that's a little bit about my formative years, I guess.
So you've definitely have a lot of theatrical things under your belt.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely have a lot of work under your belt as well.
Yeah.
What was it like? I guess moving from place to place, learning those new different things in different cities. Was that stressful or did you love it?
It was always scary at the time when I did it, and I haven't really. It's been a long time since I picked up my life and moved somewhere. I did that for the first time, when I went away to college, which wasn't that far away. It was 2.5 hour ways from home, and it was in a very small community, small Christian college. So it wasn't like I was like living life on the edge out in the dangerous world. But then when I moved to Chicago, I kind of was because I didn't know where I was going. I had worked as a bank teller Worked my way through college as a bank teller. So that was the first logical job to go after, because I wasn't trying to start a career in communications, although I had a degree in communications with a theater emphasis. My goal was to study at the Second City and learn how to improvise and learn how to write comedy. And so I I applied for a job through the Chicago Tribune. I went to the one ad section, and this is before the days of the internet, so you had to go to a newsstand and pick up a newspaper and look through jobs and circle them. So I went there without really knowing where I was going to stay, what job I was going to have. Moved there, and then I moved to New York when I did the Dana Carvey show. I didn't have an apartment when I got the job, but they gave me enough money to find a place. My buddy Todd helped me find an apartment. I was able to find an apartment in one day, which is a rarity in New York. And then when I finally decided to move out to LA, I didn't know where I was going to land. I had several friends that were kind enough that said I can crash at their place when I come out here. And I didn't have any work lined up, but I knew that LA was where I needed to be. And it was scary every time I did it. And then years later, when I got married, my first wife hated LA. So we picked up and moved to St. Louis, and we didn't know how that was going to work. Stayed in St. Louis for a couple years. But that was scary. And then moving back here to LA was kind of scary, but I had already laid the groundwork and had a, community of friends and had been working out here, had an agent and a manager. So that move was a little bit easy. I don't foresee any big moves happening in my future, but if I would get a TV show or something like that would be a long running thing that would move me to another city like New York or another country or something like that, I'd be up for it.
He said, I would leave and never look back.
Well, the thing is I've got a 7-year-old daughter, so that would always come into play with any work situation, like how would I make sure I could still see her, spend quality time with her. But other than that, I always find a sense of adventure in traveling, and especially traveling for work. I'm going to be traveling a lot more this year. I just signed with a company that books actors for Comic-Cons and things like that.
Nice.
So, yeah. So if you know of any good conventions or anything like that, I just put a post on my Instagram. Go there, tag it, let them know what con you want to bring me to, and hopefully my company Debut Entertainment will submit me for that.
Yeah, we got somebody in mind.
We got somebody.
All right.
But before we go any further, though, I just want to highlight the fact that the man found an apartment in New York in one day. It's hard to do that anywhere, but New York?
Exactly. Not only that, but it was a block away from the place where I was working. It was on 55th between 9th and 10th, and I was working on 57th. So maybe 2 technical blocks. But I was working right there at the CBS building.
Mm-hmm.
And I came in, I stayed with my friend Todd, and we got I knew that the best day to go apartment hunting was on a Sunday when the New York Times came out with all the want ads and everything, and the apartment for rent. So I just called a bunch of them, and luckily the best thing is that I had a moving stipend, and at that point it was like apartments weren't as expensive as they are now. So I think they gave me like $3,000, $4,000 to move there with, and so I was able to give it to them in cash. The deposit plus the first month's rent. So that kind of greased the wheels. When I called every number, I told them, hey, I just booked a television show. So maybe that carried some cachet with it too. But by that afternoon, the guy said, you want to come see the apartment? And it was tiny. The entire apartment was about as big as my living room. But that's all I needed right then. I needed a place to live, and I needed a place that was near the studio so that I didn't spend all kinds of time traveling in and out. And it was, I was amazed, especially after I lived in New York for a while and saw what trouble people went trying to find a new apartment.
Yeah, I've never, y'all might have, but I've never been to New York. Literally, I went into New York coming from Pennsylvania, and my dad was like, hey, this is New York. okay, get on the plane. That was it. That was all of New York I saw. So I claim that I've never been to New York. I've never seen buildings. I've never seen, like, hey, get out the walkway or anything like that. So
I
I
think
don't
my
know what it's
mom's
like.
been. Well, I think my mom's gone, but I've never been.
Haven't you been?
Not New York.
I thought the Navy sent you over there.
No, I was West Coast,
Okay.
California, and Washington, and all that.
Oh
If you
yeah,
ever
that's
get the
right.
chance, I highly recommend it. And you don't have to see like big Broadway shows to see some great entertainment too. There's places like my buddy started up a theater called the People's Improv Theater. And you can get a ticket there for like $10. You can see a great comedy show from people who might wind up on Saturday Night Live the next week. There's other comedy theaters there, the Magnet Theater. I'm not sure if the Upright Citizens Brigade Theater is there anymore, but you could see bare bones people learning how to do it, and they're already sometimes more talented than most people you see on TV or that you might even see on Broadway. So you don't need to spend hundreds of dollars on a Broadway ticket to have a really fun time in New York. And
Yeah.
slice of pizza only a couple bucks. Come on,
You had
Right.
me at. You had him at pizza. You had me
Yeah.
at comedy.
Yeah.
good.
Like, if you decided to, like, stab me, it would be marinara. That's how much I love pizza.
Good.
um so let's go over sorry. Let's go
I
over.
promise not to stab you,
Okay, thank you. I
just
appreciate
so we got that out of the way.
let's go on ahead and get the elephant out of the room. Everybody knows you on this and everybody loves you on it. Let's talk about Wizards.
Yes.
Let's talk about Mr. Larry Tate. Now, I actually watched the episode of you doing the podcast with David and Jennifer.
Mhm.
And that is Mr. Larry Tate is actually a little secret for the, I guess, as you said, the older folks.
Yes, yeah. I knew as soon as I heard the character's name, Larry Tate, that it was somehow related to Larry Tate in Bewitched. And I figured that was the function that he would fulfill in the show. So before them even letting me know that there was potentially a recurring character, I had a pretty good idea that he was going to be the authority figure that they had to keep the magic from.
Nice.
How did you feel whenever they said, "Hey, Bill, you got the part of Mr. Larry Tate"?
Well, at first, I didn't know how big the show was going to be. A lot of as an adult at the time, a lot of Disney shows weren't on my radar, and the show hadn't aired yet. When we shot that first season, none of the episodes had aired, so we had no idea what sort of success it was going to be. Had no idea that Selena was going to be the breakout star of the show. I'm sure Disney had plans, on all that, but it wasn't like rolled out to us. So I was happy to be working. As a matter of fact, at the time, like I was telling you, I had bought a house back in St. Louis. So I was traveling in from St. Louis to shoot that episode and then flying right back. So I didn't know if there'd be more episodes for sure, if the show would get picked up. Sometimes, you might shoot an entire season of a show and not even one episode airs.
And
That's
so
happened.
wait, you're telling. So I'm looking at my other monitor with your IMDb here,
Yeah.
and it says you are in 23 episodes of Wizards. So you're
Yep.
telling me you had to go to St. Louis to go
Not every
shoot?
time. No.
Oh, okay, I was about to
Not
say.
every time. For that first episode, well, what happened was I had moved back to St. Louis, bought a house with my ex, and the idea was that if I would get an important call back for a show, or if I booked work, that I would fly to LA to do the work, and then I would fly back and spend quality time with my wife at the time. And we the second episode that I got was we were supposed to travel to Germany because she was from Germany, and her parents had like bought us round trip tickets and a stay at a bed and breakfast in Hamburg, Germany for like a month. Big
Nice.
trip. And they were going to go to some island, I think Mallorca, for the first week and then go on to Hamburg from there. And then I booked the second episode. And then she goes, well, what am I going to tell my father? And I said, tell him I'm working. Doesn't every father-in-law want to know that his son-in-law is working?
You would
I said,
think that,
Yeah.
right?
if you can't appreciate that, then I'm not sure how we're going to get along. I really got along with her parents really well, and they understood. So I flew in late and joined them later on the trip, and that was a lot of fun. But and then so then what I started to do is find out if there was going to be like 2 episodes in a week, which there rarely was, but sometimes there was. I'd fly out there and I'd stay at a friend's place. And then I started renting a room at my friend's place, and then we separated and got divorced, and so then I just moved back to LA full time and shot most of the seasons as somebody who was living here in Los Angeles.
What was it like on set? Like, I know you've got all the people behind the scenes setting up the stages and everything, and you've got the director and all the hands and everything. What was that like?
Well, everybody got along really well. It was like a family on set, and you hear people say that and you think they're full of crap. But in this case, everybody really on Wizards got along like a family. I'm still in touch with people who worked on the crew. We're still Facebook friends. I don't hang out with a lot of the cast members that often because we all lead pretty busy lives, and everybody in the crew too. It leads pretty busy lives, but at least we all try to stay in touch on social media and stuff like that. And then, like you mentioned, David and Jennifer had me on their podcast, and that was a lot of fun. So
Nice.
Yeah, I've watched them since they decided to put it out, and I watched a couple of their episodes. Very intriguing, very nice. And then I got you on, and I'm like, oh, well, wait a minute, he's been on there. So I watched that episode, and I was like, okay, that do my research. Believe it or not, Tank, I do my research.
Always good to do research.
Finally, I've been trying to get him to do research since we started this thing.
I'm very like, okay, I need to figure it out. And then he'll call me up and be like, hey, we're about to record in 30 minutes. Okay, I'm looking up stuff right now. that is me. Procrastinator at its finest. So I guess the one thing that I want to tell you is that when I got you on, or when you agreed to come on, people are like, who's that? And I'm like, the cowboy principal that always says, whoa, Nelly. And then immediately they knew who you were. And I'm like, I guess he did well on that part because everybody knows him.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I'm always amazed when people recognize me because it's been so many years since that show. And like when I went on TikTok, I knew that the show had a lot of fans, but I didn't know that my character had so many fans. And I've connected with so many people who, Larry Tate was their guy, and I'm like, surely you turned into the show for Selena. Yeah, Selena, but also Larry Tate. And I'm like, wow, never expected that. And then I'm always amazed when people actually know my name. Because like you said, a lot of times they just remember me as like, you're Larry Tate. I know you from Larry Tate. But some people know my name and know how to, like before we started the podcast, I told you guys how the name's pronounced. Yeah. Sometimes people will, mispronounce the name. And of course, I don't have a problem with that. But when people pronounce my name right, I'm like, you know me. You really know me. So when people come up and say, you're Bill Chott, I'm like, yes, I am. And you have all of my attention now. Because I like to make fans, I like to let fans know that I really appreciate their support, because I would be nowhere without the people who, support the stuff that I do and the projects that I'm in.
That's one thing that we like to talk about is we love all the movies and all the TV shows and music and everything that comes out. And by no means am I disregarding the effort and the time that the actors and the stage hands and the directors and everybody put in. But it's like I've told Jay multiple times, without the fans, you ain't really got anything. Yep. Like you can still make your stuff and it'll go out and people will watch it, but it's people find something to connect with and everything.
Yep.
And it's that connection that pulls them into it and keeps them coming back for more.
We've only had this happen one time, and it was at Comic-Con, and it was our first con that we ever worked, and a guy came up to us and said, I've seen you guys on YouTube. I like y'all's podcast. And me and him were like, wait, wait a
Like,
minute.
huh?
Because I mean,
Good
we didn't
feeling,
think
isn't
we
it?
would get this far. Oh, it was wonderful. We did not. We thought we would have like maybe 10 followers.
Mhm.
You know, my mom, his mom, our wives, and a couple more people, and that's about it. But now we are close to 500 people, and I know that doesn't seem like a lot in today's day and age, but to us, 500 followers is a lot for us. We
Yep.
have never expected to get this far.
All right, enough about us.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so if you, what is a dream role that you'd love to take, whether it be TV or a movie or
A dream
Broadway?
role for me, I would really love to. I would really love to be on Broadway. I really want to do that at some point in my life. I would love to like do a long run of a Broadway show, a year or so. That would be fun. Um, I would love to do. You know what? I know they're kind of falling out of fashion, but I would love to do a sitcom, a 3-camera sitcom in front of a live audience, like we did with Wizards for the most part. Sometimes we would do episodes where we would tape the special effects without an audience, things like that. But for the most part, we had a live audience. And there's something about, people think that these shows that they watch on TV have a laugh track, and that's a live audience out there. And sometimes they'll sweeten it with extra laughs and stuff like that. If the producer thought, oh, that should have got a better laugh or whatever, they'll turn up the volume a little bit and add a couple extra chuckles or whatever. But that's a live audience, and it really gives you as a performer something really cool to work with. So that's why I say Broadway or a sitcom, because I love giving to an audience, and I love what the audience gives to me. So that's dream jobs. That also I love working in animation because you don't have to memorize the lines. I'm ADHD, so it's always extra stress for me on a set when I'm given a bunch of lines to learn. Um, you don't have to worry about how you look. You don't have to sit in a makeup chair for hours. You just go in, warm up your voice, and you start recording. And there's no more fun work than voiceover, because you can improvise all you want, because they haven't you're not burning film. You're not even burning digital video, which nobody worries about anymore either.
It's all on
You can just
SD.
improvise, and you can have fun and stand in front of a mic, and you either have the script in front of you or you have the freedom. And then animation lives forever too, because it rarely ever gets dated.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So I want to talk to you about one of your other roles that had a big impact, but it was a smaller role. Excuse me. I'm ADHD too, so apparently I
Smaller
can't.
role.
I can't speak. um. So one of the roles that I know you for, that I love the show, is This Is Us,
Oh
and you were
yeah,
the mailman, but it was a small role, but it had such an impactful moment with Randall, and it was so impactful for the entire show. Like everybody knows you as the mailman. So
yeah.
how was that? How was that working on that show? And did you expect it to be as big as it is?
I didn't expect it to be as big as it is at all. Um, at that point, I think it was towards the end of the first season of This Is Us, and it already got a big cult following, and it was already a hit. So I had to binge. I hadn't watched the series because I tend to not watch tearjerker shows, which I knew that This Is Us was. I also didn't realize how funny of a show it was. So once I was catching up on all the tears, I had a lot of laughter along the way too, and I was like, "Oh, this show's cool." And then I went in and auditioned for the show, and they didn't tell me that the character of William had passed away. In the script that I was given for the audition, it said he's upstairs resting. And so I got there for the audition, and I read the lines, and the producer said, "That's great. Now we want to read it again, but now read it with the knowledge that the character William is dead. We didn't want to put that out there all over the breakdowns, and we didn't want all kinds of actors all over town knowing it. So read it with that knowledge." And I started crying, not out of the genuine motivation of the character. I was crying because I was like, I wish they would have given me time to prepare to have an emotional impact. But the real life tears that were coming, and then I let them come because I realized that it was impacting for the role. I was like, okay, yeah, let them come, let them flow. And so it was the difficult part was finding that place again when I was on set, and I couldn't have done that if Sterling Brown wasn't such an amazing and giving performer. He took all kinds of time to run lines with me. When they were trying to overrun the lines just for blocking and for lighting and sound and everything, he told the guys, "Hey guys, I think you give him some space, give him some time off because this is going to take a lot out of him." And I was like, "Thank you." Because you don't always advocate for yourself when you're not one of the lead characters on a show. You
Right.
do what you're told. You're a day player. You're a blue collar actor.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been for the majority of my career. Has been, I'm the guy who comes in, and it's like when you hire a plumber. I know how to do this job. I come in, I do it, and I get the hell out. And usually that's been with comedy, but in this case, it was with drama, and it had a huge impact. It got delayed because there was a presidential press conference or something like that that came along the week that was going to be aired, and then it got bumped, and I was like, oh, I hate watching those things anyway. They're always so boring. And so I was like, oh, what's going to happen now? Am I going to make it on air? And I happened to be staying with family at the time, and then my episode aired, so it was even better than than where I was going to see it. I was wound up being with family the week that it aired, and that was really, really fun. And then I started getting bling, 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 bling. My phone starts going off, and there was a friend that I made, Michael Ian, on Instagram and Facebook. I met him in person at a film festival, and he was in two of the This Is Us fan groups. So he was telling people in advance, "Hey, my friend Bill's going to be on This Is Us, so keep your eye out for him." And so I had already I didn't know it was going to be received the way it was. So I had already joined the groups, and then people started connecting with me and commenting, and friends that I had made through all my different years who had never seen, a lot of people had never seen me do any dramatic work. Most people, the bulk of my career, knew me from Second City, knew me from Dana Carvey's show, Wizards of Waverly Place, all the other projects that I've been on. And only people who knew me from college had seen me do any kind of drama. And I think I surprised a lot of people that knew me really well. And then, of course, I surprised a bunch of people who didn't know me at all by being the guy who was usually the walk-on, get a big laugh and get out guy. This time I was walk-on, get some huge tears, and then get off.
I
That's
mean,
awesome.
man, that performance of the mailman, the fact that that was real tears because they gave you that information makes it, I don't even know how to explain it, because I remember that scene, and it was just because Tank, if you ever watch it, it is a tearjerker of a show. Like, you will cry. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. And when you came in and you were talking to Randall or Sterling, I don't know, but however, you could just feel that moment through the television. You could feel that moment between Mailman and Randall. You could feel whatever it was emotionally, and you did amazing at that role.
Yeah,
So
and I've had the biggest compliment I've ever had is that people who said I've never watched This Is Us. I just watched your reel that has the 2-minute scene or whatever on it, and you've probably even less than 2 minutes. And they were like, and I was in tears, and I didn't even know what the show was about. So we did have a very special moment between the two of us there.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that reel.
Yeah, just watch my reel. Don't watch the whole series. No, watch the series. Watch the series. It's great. There's so many wonderful moments and so many flashbacks. I'm like, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but the whole pilot episode takes a new turn when you finally see the end of it. So
okay. I'll have to give it a watch
on the story that they have.
It's a very emotional show. You'll go from happy to mad to sad to upset.
Yeah.
All in one setting.
And it really, really is funny. I did not expect to laugh at it as much as I did.
You like
Uh,
comedy?
I I guess for me, I couldn't get over the tearjerker. So I, the whole thing with that, I laughed. Don't get me wrong, I laughed at some parts, but most of the time I was like, "You sob," like that was me. But another role that he was actually surprised about.
Wait. Let me do it. Let me do it. Let me do
Okay,
it.
okay, okay.
I have one word for you, good sir. Are you ready?
It's four, but okay.
No, no.
Oh,
What he's associated with is one.
okay.
Zoltan.
Sultan.
I did not realize that was you in that scene, and
The bubble wrap jumpsuit. Yeah.
once I found
He
it,
wears
I was
my
like,
car.
"Oh my god, that is awesome!"
was that like
That
a
was a
quick?
fun shoot. And then they had just made the bubble wrap jumpsuits, the wardrobe. And when we first got on set, they wouldn't let us sit down in them. So you had to stand the whole time you were in them. And then the scene that you see when we're walking in the field, taking them from the shack up to the compound, was one of the hottest days on record in Los Angeles. And we're here in this suit that's like a walking sauna.
Ooh.
And you've seen those workout suits that people wear that they're like, this is even worse than that because the sun's coming in. So you get the greenhouse effect on you. And so there was a shed that we were in, and in the shed they had a little air conditioning unit on a generator that they were trying to we would just like stick it in the suit and let it air condition the suit. But you were still like soaked and wet, and like the medic on set had to give us electrolytes because we were both ready to pass out.
I see. I knew from watching it that y'all had to be high, but I didn't know that it was the hottest day on record. Good Lord, it's like walking
I
around
couldn't
in
do
an
it.
oven.
I couldn't do it. Yeah, y'all couldn't pay me enough to be standing in the sun with bubble wrap suit all over me and being like, "I'm fine."
I'd be too busy trying to pop the bubble wrap.
Yeah, they were the wardrobe department were so worried that we were going to pop the bubble wrap on the jumpsuit and they would have to start from scratch and make more suits because they had to make one for everybody in the cult. And when you make wardrobe, this is from scratch. It wasn't like, if I was wearing this shirt in a store, all they need to do is go to Ross Dress for Less or wherever they're going to buy it from and buy two versions of it because you always need a backup in case something happens to this one. It gets stained or wrinkled or whatever, and they need another one. So they had to make two bubble wrap jumpsuits for everybody on set, and they were constantly getting damaged that first week because people weren't used to not sitting down and people weren't used to getting into them. So they would step in the suit and pop, 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 on one leg and, wouldn't be in the shot. But of course, the wardrobe needs to be prepared for whether it's going to be in the shot or not. So, they were really hard on us about not taking them off in between shots and not sitting down in between shots, which is two of the things you always want to do on set is take off anything hot and heavy and have a chance to sit down and rest your legs and rest your back.
I can just see a seamstress coming from the back like, "Don't you dare sit down." Just have a ruler in her hand like, "I'm going to slap you."
Yep.
Did you pop any, Bill?
I tried not to. I think I wound up popping one or two afterwards. If they would have given me one of them when it was over, instead of saving it as a souvenir, I would have popped every single last one of them.
So let's talk about. I would have done the whole thing too, so don't feel bad, Bill.
It's so addictive.
Yeah, like I'll get an Amazon package and I'll start doing it.
I get to pop bubble wrap every day at work, so I am very happy.
Inner child right there.
Oh, you have no idea. I get boxes coming in daily, and they've got an insane amount of bubble wrap most of the time. So I'm just like, I get paid to do this.
So let's talk about a couple more roles.
Well,
you can edit that. You can hush. Let's talk about Galaxy Quest. How was that?
by grab Dawes Hammer. By the sons of Warven, you shall be avenged.
They, I auditioned for that in an old building on Wilshire. It's like a classic old casting building, and it was just that one line. I had read the whole script, so I knew it was all about. But I was like, "Wow, this is a great idea for a movie." And it actually echoed. There was a short story in Twilight Zone magazine years and years ago about aliens that came back and wanted people to redo the last season of a Western show. So it kind of like it echoed that concept. I'm not saying that they took the idea from them at all, but it was definitely of that um, let's say mythos, if you want to use that phrase. So I appreciated what the show was about, and what I wasn't thinking of at the time was what a huge fan following Star Trek had, and that we kind of instantly have become co-opted into that universe by doing a parody of it, even though it wasn't a straight out parody. Everybody could see the parallels. And so like after it's come out, like somebody just forwarded me something about the history of Star Trek, and they were mentioning the fans and the conventions, and they cut away to a scene of me as the Questarian at the convention, fan number one, and I was like, I'm popping up in things I have no right to. I was lucky enough to be in the movie, but then I got wound up using in the trailer, in the commercial. I was in Alan Rickman's in memorial reel on CNN the day that he passed. They had my scene. I made it into his thing. I was like, not everything has to be about me, guys. Not everything. And then now I'm making it into things that are Star Trek related and don't even have anything to do with Galaxy Quest. So that better get me into some conventions.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
What's up? So I'm sorry, Jay, but I have to ask this.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alan Rickman was one of my favorite actors.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
I was very sad when he passed away. What was it like working with him?
He was very gracious, a very, very nice guy. The thing was, I didn't get a chance to talk that much to him because there was somebody, one of the extras, was trying to push this screenplay that he had written for his girlfriend, who you could see as one of the extras who makes it on camera. And I think this guy makes it on camera. You can see the back of his head and his face behind me as I'm in line. But he was trying to sell this project, and all power to him for the hustle. But it's very difficult to try to have a conversation with Alan Rickman when you could tell that this guy is like bugging him and interfering with his time. And then he's not sure until we shoot that I'm the guy he's in the scene with. So I'm this other extra, So I didn't want to, I was trying to be respectful of his time and not intrude on him. I should have, if I could go back and do it all over again, I would have just said, oh, forget about that. He's not going to associate me with this one guy. He's his own person. I'm my own person. But I didn't really get a chance to talk with him. I told him I was a big fan of him. And he's like, thank you. That was basically the conversation that we had. But he was very kind. And, like I say, he was so gracious to this guy that I felt bad about trying to start a conversation with him because he was giving more time than he should have or needed to. He had every right to go into Rickman mode and go, oh, let's take a break. He could have just been, he could have, fed on his, persona that people think of him as this guy who's kind of standoffish. He's not that. He wasn't that way at all.
My favorite role of him was from
Harry Potter.
Actually, no. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. He played Marvin.
Oh, wow, that's right. He did do the voice of Marvin, didn't he?
I love that one.
Yes.
Well,
here's how I discovered Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This will be fun. I discovered it when it was a radio show.
It was a radio show?
On BBC. It was being re-aired. I was living in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. Thanksgiving Day. We were living in northeastern Pennsylvania, and we had a monk visiting us that was from the church that we were at. My parents welcomed him in. They said, oh, you must please come have Thanksgiving dinner with us. And he goes, I hope I'm not a bother, but after we're done eating, would you mind if we turned on NPR to listen to this radio show that I listen to weekly? And my dad was like, sure. I haven't listened to radio shows that were like a serial in a long time. I'm curious to find out what it's about. And my dad was laughing. My dad was a big fan of Monty Python as it was. My dad was laughing and loved that, loved British humor. So he was instantly a fan of Douglas Adams. And so that's how I discovered Hitchhiker's Guide, is thanks to a monk on Thanksgiving Day.
That's a story.
Of all the things I've heard in my life, that is probably the
Yeah.
strangest.
Yeah.
Huge fans of Monty Python.
Yes, just but a scratch.
Just but a scratch.
Yeah, it's all that same kind of like very deadpan, witty humor that all the Brits have, that just like,
I didn't
connects with
even
you.
know it was a book until my
Yeah.
wife told me. Because she's the reader. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm too dumb to read. So, but I guess I'm gonna have to go ahead and pull my trump card, Tank. Gonna have to
Go
pull
for
my
it.
trump card. You ready?
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about The Ringer. Everybody knows. Everybody knows who you were. So how was that?
That was one of the best experiences of my life. I had done a character very similar to Thomas named Frederick for years, who was a combination of a bunch of different people that I had met with disabilities, through volunteer opportunities, through my community. And I was always very respectful, performed a sketch at Second City as that character. And those glasses that you see in the movie were glasses that I found at a secondhand shop in St. Louis, Missouri. And I had them with me since I had them with me through college and through the whole time I was in Chicago, and, didn't come in handy until 2002 when we shot The Ringer. And I went in there in character for the audition. I read in character as Thomas, never broke character, which is what I was asked to do. I think my manager and my agent, somebody said, go in character, just go in character. And then afterwards, Barry Blaustein, who was the director, interviewed me in character, just asked me a bunch of questions that I just improvised, and he loved it. And Barry was one of the writers on one of the early seasons of Saturday Night Live.
Nice.
So he had written a lot with Eddie Murphy. He was one of the reasons why the show stayed alive, because Eddie Murphy pretty much saved that show. And Barry was one of the guys that worked very closely with Eddie Murphy. He wound up writing Coming to America with Eddie Murphy. And so Barry was the director. He has a great sense of humor. And he told me in that first audition, he said, you're in my movie. I don't know where you are, but you're in my movie. Whether, if for some reason we can't cast you as this role, you're in my movie. I was like, that's great. And then, we shot it in Austin, Texas. So they flew us down there for 2 weeks of actual training to learn how to do all of the track and field events, so that we were not mocking anybody, because, Special Olympians train all year for those events. And, it's something they take very seriously. And since the project was done with the backing of the Special Olympics, and Special Olympics was on set every day to make sure that we were always respecting the athletes, that's what made it feel so good, is to know that we were doing not just a funny movie, not just that I was doing a character that I love, not just being able to work with Johnny Knoxville and the Farrelly brothers and Barry Blaustein, but that it was a movie with heart that was going to bring some hopefully newfound respect to the Special Olympics and the Special Olympians and all people with disabilities. So, and then it's Austin, Texas. It was a party town. It was a college town. And my buddy Jeff Aaron, who plays, I'm trying to remember his character's name right now, but the one that says the classic line about the ice cream. He had been in Super Troopers, the guy who was tripping on mushrooms in Super Troopers. So he was a local celebrity. So he and I would go out. We were roommates, we shared a condo there for the whole time we were shooting. So if we would go to a bar, people would be like, "Oh, dude, you're from Super Troopers." And so we were just living the life. It was an amazing time. Got to meet Quentin Tarantino, who was staying in the Omni Hotel, where
Oh, wow.
the first 2 weeks they put us up at the Omni, and we spent a lot of time there because a lot of people in the production were at the Omni. So a lot of times we just wind up at the bar at the Omni, and then one night in walks Quentin Tarantino with the cast um, of Death Proof, I think it was. It was
Nice.
like, oh my god, we didn't know what movie he was shooting at the time, but we were all excited because like the first week that we were there was the movie Kill Bill had come out.
Yeah.
So we watched the movie Kill Bill. We went to the Alamo Draft House. I had never been to the Alamo Draft House because it wasn't a big thing. It wasn't a thing nationwide yet. And also when we had like our big big party to celebrate us all being there, like Harry Dean Stanton, Woody Harrelson, a bunch of stars were there just because they had worked with the Fairleys before and they were around the Austin area and decided to come out for a party. So every moment of that was a wonderful experience, including the fact that it turned out to be a great film and eventually found a cult audience.
Nice.
I can say I am a huge fan of that film.
That's awesome.
I have it on DVD. Love it. Love that film. And I'm sure, I've been in a couple of your lives.
Mhm.
And same question always pops up that I've seen about The Ringer. It's always how I was working with Johnny. Do you find that? Do you ever get a little frustrated by that or no?
Not at all, because I think people are people are curious what's he like in person. And um his persona is he's a down-to-earth guy. Most people don't call him Knoxville or Johnny. When you work with him, his name's PJ because that's his
Oh,
name.
I didn't know
Um, his wife and daughter were on set, for part of the time. When they weren't there, he was out partying some. Yeah. Uh, but get to meet his wife and daughter. He gave out, at that time, you remember you couldn't just pick up a cell phone and call anybody you wanted anywhere. You had to sometimes, if you were going to call somebody long distance, you'd have to have a card through AT&T or MCI or one of those long distance carriers. Well, he gave those cards to all the major players, so the people who were actual Special Olympians in the film, so they could stay in touch with him. You
Nice.
know,
that was nice.
and he's still in touch with a lot of those guys. I talk with John Taylor almost every other week, the guy that played Rudy. Winston was the character that my friend Jeff played, who said the ice cream, by the way. Finally, as soon as I named Rudy, Winston came to mind.
It's okay. ADHD, it works like that.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
Find these odd connections. But I'll talk to John Taylor and he'd be like, "Yeah, I just talked to Knoxville," and I was like, "He never talks to me." So he's really got a big heart, and he's a good guy.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
That's one of the things I love hearing. Like when we have people on, it's not often that you hear about a movie that puts in the attention to detail, the time, and the effort to make sure that everything goes right, and
Yeah.
it's paying respects to, I guess, the source of what they're working with, like how they deal with the Special Olympics and the athletes and
Yeah.
everything. So it to me it shows that regardless of everything that's happening in the world, they're still good out there. We just don't see it.
Yep.
I agree with that.
Yep. You just need to look for it.
For a long time when I was younger and I saw The Ringer, I really thought they used disabled Olympians for that movie. I didn't know you guys were actors.
Yeah.
um,
There were only 4 of us that were not actually disabled. Everybody else was either actually a Special Olympian or a person with a disability. And I think if they ever remade the movie, they wouldn't need people like us.
yeah. I
They
mean,
would realize they could find people with disabilities who are just as good actors and can carry the comedy and the drama just as well as anybody else.
Understand. But that's with me. When I first saw it, I was like, wow, Hollywood gave these disabled actors a chance. And I had more respect with that movie. And then I got older and figured out who everyone was
Yeah.
and figured out that you guys, I like I said, I got the movie. I see the behind the scenes and how y'all did training and stuff like that. So y'all definitely put in the work. It's there.
Yeah.
So it definitely was a great movie altogether.
I
But
can't tell you how many times I've watched The Ring. I love that movie.
Yeah.
that's another thing you should be proud of. You say you're the plumber kind of thing. You go in, fix it, get out. But all the stuff that you've done has been fantastic. You've done small roles, you've done big roles, and they've all been good. You've played in Galaxy Quest, you played in Pluto, Wizards, This Is Us. I mean everything.
Yeah.
So
Invader Zim.
I consider myself incredibly blessed to have been able to do like just about every kind of entertainment that I want to do and have it be an impactful one. Like I don't think I've been in much trash, you know. Every movie that I've been in has been a really memorable one, you
yeah.
know. Every TV show that I've been in has been a memorable one. Even the commercials that I did, people remember the commercials and they're like, I was in these series of commercials for Hasbro called it was the Queasy Bake Oven. It was like the Easy Bake Oven for women only. It was for boys to make gross stuff. And it used to air all the time during Batman. So kids and then nerd friends of mine who watch Batman would know me as Chef Queasy. That's gross. And then animation, the fact that I was able to do the ambiguously gay duo on Saturday Night Live, the fact that I was on Saturday Night Live, that was a blessing. It was something I wanted to be on since I was a kid, and then I wound up there on accident. So, yeah, I realize how blessed I am. I joke around and try to be modest when I say stuff like, I'm kind of the plumber, but I'm honored to be able to plumb the kind of things that I plumb and to be a part of the sort of projects that I've been part
Should
of.
be very proud of him. We're
Thank you.
very proud of you.
I don't know why this popped into my head, but hearing that and then looking at your IMDb, I instantly thought of a Swiss Army knife. How you pull one thing out and then you pull
Oh
out
yeah, I
another cool
appreciate that.
thing and another cool thing. And I'm like, wow. Because I mean, I'm looking at your IMDb and you're in a lot of stuff that I've seen. Like, obviously, Do Where's My Car, Galaxy Quest, Wizards of Waverly Place, Invader Zim, Brain Warp, Third Rock from the Sun. And I'm just,
Wait. You were in Invader Zim?
No, I didn't play Invader Zim. I was on Invader Zim. I did
yeah.
a character there where I was a phone operator
Oh,
for Agent Messi, I think.
Yeah, it was.
I've worked with Richard Horvitz, who's the voice of Invader Zim. We did a play together last summer out here at the Whitefire Theater called The Secret World of Archie and Mehitabel.
Yeah, you
okay.
were Agent Messi and you were the FBI operator voice in Invader Zim.
He
Yeah.
was very nice turning us down. He was a very nice person. I reached out to him to get him on the show,
Mm-hmm.
and he just said he has a lot going on right now and was very kind about it. I was like, that's a good way to get turned down.
Yeah, he's a busy guy.
Oh yeah, which is expected. I mean, these voice actors and actors go, yourself, y'all go to cons, y'all go to different sets, you go to all that. So that's why I say, if you remember what I sent you, the first thing I sent you, I said, I know life is hectic, so whatever you can give us is fine.
Yep.
I try not to push and prod and be like, come on, the show, you know.
Well,
So
also you hit me at the best time of year, which is like, things are just slowly coming back into production early January. So if you ever want to plan ahead for guests
Everybody's
next
scheduled
year,
for January.
like sit in
yeah,
on a bunch of lives during the holidays and then ask them, hey, how about that first week in January? What are you doing that first week in January? Because most things aren't back up in production yet. So
Yeah. Now, one thing I will say that I will tell the audience, guys, Bill, Bill, Bill is really good at watercolor. I watched
oh, thank you.
I watched your live, and those were some good watercolor paintings that I saw.
Thank you. I've impressed myself with them. Do you want to see a couple of them real quick?
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
go for
Hold
it.
on, I'll be right back.
Okay. Push us away.
We get firsthand looks at this artwork.
He made one that's like leaves and trees. Dude, it looks good.
Yeah,
Let's
I
see.
tend to like I've spent all my life when I would color things, I would do characters. Like I did one of Santa Claus and people and different cartoon characters and stuff like that. But just recently working with watercolors, I started doing stuff. So here's one that I did that's just kind of like
Ooh,
3 evergreen trees in the middle of a forest or in the middle of a snowy wood or whatever.
And
Like
that was
that.
all
And
just
then-
watercolor?
yeah, just watercolor. This one is a sunset, and then
That's my favorite.
yeah, this is personally my favorite, just because it has depth. It has just a great use of
that is
color,
beautiful.
and it all fell together. It's not. I'd never taken a class in this. I let the watercolor do what it does, and it really is. You either do wet on dry or wet on wet, and then you just let the colors do what they do.
Where'd you
It's like
learn all
how-
this?
And here's the birch tree one too.
Yep, that's the one he was working on.
Very nice.
That's nice.
And that one, can I tell you a secret?
Yeah.
You take a credit card and you dip it in black watercolor paint, and then you scrape it,
Oh.
and then it forms that. So it's
Huh.
not even like I did any in-depth 3D work there, but it comes off looking very multi-dimensional
I
and yeah. And then the leaves at the top, you spray the canvas or the paper in this case, and then you just come in there with a brush that has dips on it, and then it kind of like spreads within the water and stuff like that. It's like improv in that way, is that you just have to show up and let things happen and observe them as they happen. And sometimes you don't need to do anything else. You just need to be present. Yeah.
Did you go to school for art?
Never did. No.
No?
The only art instruction I've ever had was I think like 8 or 9 years ago. I went to one of those, sip and paint classes where you just paint. So I painted a sunset and drank, a couple glasses of wine. That was that. And then art class in school, where you like draw your hand and then you make a turkey on it or, crap like that. Never took art in high school or college. I took art appreciation my junior year in college. But, you just learn about the classics. You don't learn about any technique or anything.
I feel like there's a life lesson in the watercolor, like that last one. How you were talking about it being like improv, just sit back and watch. I feel like you can get a life lesson out of that. Sometimes all you got to do is sit back and let things happen.
Yeah. And you have to be ready to learn something new. I'm 54 years old and I'm still learning new things. You can never be so sure of yourself that you've learned everything there is to learn. And there's probably more that I need to learn about acting. There's probably more that more that I need to learn about improv. You never know it all.
Yeah.
And it's a great way to go through life knowing that everything could be a learning experience.
I tell
Because
Jay
I'm
that all
dating
the time.
again. I'm going through my second divorce, unfortunately, but my ex and I get along really well. We got a beautiful daughter, 7 years old. But it's been 2 years since we separated first, and now's the time for me to start dating again. And I'm learning new things about dating and how people date nowadays, and how to even go about getting somebody's phone number.
What the hell is Bumble?
I'm on Bumble. I'll tell you, I joined Bumble. I joined Tinder. What else? Bumble, Tinder, Hinge is another one. Our Time. But I'm not paying for any of them. I'm like, I'm just gonna get used to finding out what it is that I'm looking for.
Well, if somehow you ever find your way down here, let us know. There's a tavern down here. We'd love to take you to get some
Well, I
wine.
would love to do that. And where exactly are you guys again? I forget.
Mississippi.
You're in Mississippi.
Yes, sir.
If there's a convention there, tag me, tag that Instagram post that I had. You know, if it's Mississippi Con or whatever con it is that's near you. Hopefully they'll give me a reason to fly down there, and then we'll hit that tavern. One thing I'm going to do. One of my goals here is, if I'm going to be traveling around to these conventions, I want to turn it into something social too. So I'll be teaching improv classes, different places that I go, or visiting with friends who live in the city that I do the convention in. So I'll book in for an extra day and fly out an extra day and like find friends to crash with or whatever in cities, or worst case scenario, I pay for a Airbnb or a hotel or something like that. But
Right.
would love to hook up with you guys if I'm ever down in Mississippi, or if you guys ever find yourself at a convention that I'm at, let's get together.
Yeah.
Sounds
We'll
like a plan.
we'll do our thing and hit you up. We do know a person, like we said, and see if we can't make things happen, make magic happen.
Cool. Let's make that magic happen.
Before we end off, would you like to go ahead and say your socials to everyone?
Yeah, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, X. I almost said Twitter, but I'm like, it's called X now. And TikTok, all at Bill Chott, BILLCHOTT.
It's right there. It says at right there. Y'all guys can follow it. It's in his
right
name.
by his name.
At a piece, the A circle, the lowercase anarchy symbol.
Yeah.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah. No, he's right.
No,
he's right.
Yeah, he's right. Wow. Why did I never think of that?
We're 30 years old, man, and we
Right?
never thought about that.
This is the guy thinking about it.
Well, actually, he's old. I'm 30. He's old.
You're not that far behind me. I don't want to hear it.
Anyway.
And yet I'm in better shape.
Anyway, Bill, thank you so much for coming on and just giving your time and telling us about all your experiences. We really appreciated it.
Thank you.
It was
I had a
fun.
great time.
If you ever want to come back on or anything of that nature, let us know. We'll be happy to have you on.
I'd love that.
All right, guys. Remember to follow us. Our thing is down that way. I forgot about the camera again. It's down that way, the little link tree. Make sure to follow Bill if you got some time. Show him some love. He is an awesome guy. And make sure to follow us on all of our Instagram, Facebook, TikTokies, all that good jazz. Till next time, till next episode. We'll talk to y'all later.
Peace.
Attention passengers, this is your conductor speaking. We are departing the hesitation station. Please stand clear of the closing doors.